Then we finally get shown Cortana. And for the most part, honestly, full transparency, I kind of like the Cortana in this show. Hey, regular dude here. You're about to watch this amazing review of the new Halo series episode. And in case you didn't feel like watching it or don't really want to, I've decided to sum it up with one simple meme.
She can't do that. Shoot her or something.
So basically what I'm going to do, briefly summarize what happened in the episode in case you don't want to watch it, and point out what I noticed was wrong or what I think is stupid, and that's pretty much what we're going to do. So it's episode 3 of the Halo series, and it's titled Emergence. Yeah. We're shown some planet called Oban or something that's a salvage colony, and it's basically run like... You ever seen those scenes in Hunger Games? It's pretty much exactly that, where like the officers are beating all the people that are supposed to be working. That's pretty much what we're working with here. So it's really good. It's really gunning for your heartstrings, right? We cut to these two kids who are inside some trash compactor fucking thing, right? And they're reading a book they have salvaged from this salvage planet, and it's a guy and a girl, and they're talking about what an untamable woman is in the book, because the book features a character named Jack and a woman that he loves or some shit. Basically, these two kids are reading a romance novel, right? It's called like Dawn of the Angels or Rise of the some shit like that. They don't really understand what kissing is, so naturally, as most kids do, they try to kiss, right? And then they get spotted by a guard, and the guard like hard chases them down with the intent to brutally murder one of them. And that's what happens, right? The kid falls down and the guard pretty much beats him to death. Okay, he beats the boy kid to death. The girl kid is like holding her book and running away. And right on cue, the Covenant show up. And it's not a massive invasion or anything like that. It's literally two elites show up. One is holding a stick that's glowing. That's what the two elites show up. One is holding a stick that's glowing. All these humans, all these armed guards and shit, they all just start sprinting the other direction, just running away, right? While there is an alien invasion currently, an alien invasion of 2, by the way, currently happening, this guard is so set on beating this little girl, like beating her, like he doesn't care. Everything around him is changing, that there's a literal alien invasion right back here. He wants to beat this kid senseless. It's like, reminds me a lot of my parents' priorities when I was a kid, so that was nice. The elites are just walking through these people with the rod that's glowing, and the rod acts as like a stud finder, and who would have guessed it? It beeps at the girl, and they're like, what we're looking for has to be behind the girl. And then the other elite goes, no, man, she's the treasure. Bam, that's the blessed one. That's her past. We figured it out. Then it kind of immediately transitions to the blessed one, who is having she's trying on different clothes and asking the prophets if she looks human enough, right? Like, it's a fashion show, and she's asking them if she's asking the prophets, like a race of aliens that wants to exterminate humanity, if she looks human enough, as if they've ever like seen one up close. Well, in this case, obviously they did, but you know what I mean. It's just weird that she's getting their input, and she definitely doesn't look very human just because of her fucking crazy wacko hairstyle. And then she has this moment of wicked badassness where she says that her plan is actually to bring the artifact back and kill John. She's gonna kill John. I mean, I think he can take her in a 1v1, but maybe she's got some weird alien upgrades that they haven't revealed yet. You know what I mean? Like, they're really gonna buff the character. Like, maybe she actually has superpowers. Then we cut to Miranda Keyes analyzing the Forerunner artifact with Admiral Parangovsky, and she's just giving us some bullshit like science stuff, saying it has to be 100,000 years old. It probably predates humanity and definitely predates the Covenant or some shit like that. Admiral Parangofsky wants Miranda to analyze the artifact, which she responds with, Dr. Halsey wouldn't like that. And Admiral Parangofsky is trying to say, she says she's trying to be less reliant on Dr. Halsey as like a scientific aid. So she's looking to give Miranda her own team so that Miranda can, you know, kind of make her own name or some shit like that. And Miranda is way too excited about this prospect, right? Like it seems like she's just like practically moist at the idea of undermining her mom or some shit. So then we cut to Dr. Halsey, who is currently talking to Halsey, right? She's talking to the clone. The clone is actually alive, and they are communicating and exchanging words. The Halsey clone, or future Cortana, is assembling a puzzle to show that she is in fact extremely smart. So just in case you were wondering, Halsey's brain, smart lady, smart clone, basically, right? Halsey, I gotta differentiate them. Cortana asks Halsey about her morals in regarding that she would have to, you know, basically kill the clone in order to make the Cortana. And Halsey basically says, my morals have changed. Something like that. Then we cut to Halsey talking to John. And Halsey, in almost every scene when she's talking to John, does this weird thing where she, like, sits next to him. I don't know. It's just weird for me. It's kind of off-putting that every time she walks into a scene, she sits next to him. John's still not wearing his suit, and guess what? He doesn't wear his suit until the very end. But even then, he has his helmet off, so it doesn't fucking matter. So then John is getting integrated with Cortana. The process for this whole thing is a little weird. But I guess even if you took the actual canon process of it, it just doesn't matter, because in the canon, Halsey literally just clones the brain and then just makes Cortana and then inserts Cortana into John's suit, which is part of his neural blah blah blah, whatever. You know, it's pretty much, it's similar to what they do in the show. It's just a little different. But the only weird part about this is that Cortana, as in the body, the living body of Cortana, needs to be fully awake and aware while the transfer happens. So she's pretty much just like alive when they're gonna rip her brain out. I don't know why. Fuck it. It makes it cool. I just remember that there was this character, and I will fact check myself, but I'm pretty sure it was called BB Black Box, and it's from the Cold Protocol series, or Thursday War, whatever you want to call it. And it was an AI that was basically on par with Cortana, if not better than Cortana. And it was created from the Dr. Halsey had an assistant who helped her make the Spartan program and all this shit and develop all their stuff. And the assistant, or partner, you could say, basically felt so guilty about the horrible things they did to children that he killed himself and requested that they use his brain, which he would keep post-death, right? He would make sure that his body was in good enough condition that they could take his brain, flash clone it or scan it or whatever, make him into the AI, and then the AI, known as Black Box, would protect the Spartans from then on so that he could make amends for all the sins that he did. I forget my point. My point being that I don't think Cortana needs to be awake and alive in her clone state in order for this transfer to happen. But fuck it, right? They have this weird... Okay, so Dr. Halsey has this, like, assistant, right? And it's kind of like... Fuck, what is it like? Van Helsing. Okay, it's like Van Helsing, right? Remember, or Frankenstein. He has the little Igor assistant, right? The little weird guy that's like creepy as fuck that helps him do all his experiments. Halsey has that in this guy who tries to kiss Cortana when she's a human, and he's just fucking weird in every scene that he's in. He's just weird, off-putting. I don't like it. Cortana asks the helper guy, the assistant, if it will hurt when they do it, and he goes, yeah, it's gonna hurt. But then when they actually do the process, it literally just, it's a needle that stabs into her eye, and then her brain is essentially transferred or some shit. I don't know, it just didn't seem like it was that painful, but maybe getting your whole brain ripped out is painful. I don't fucking know. But it doesn't seem like they took out her whole brain, it was just a neural substrate, which I'm sure is a scientific term for like just the building blocks of your brain or some fucking. I'm not a scientist. John gets drilled into, and he gets his neural implants put in, which I'm pretty sure they all already had. They all had the neural implants. It's like Captain Keyes has neural implants. That's what you like in Halo 1 punch out of his fucking flood sack. You punch out his neural implants and click. Then we finally get shown Cortana. And for the most part, honestly, full transparency, I kind of like the Cortana in this show. It seems like it's where a lot of their budget went, because the animation for the Cortana model looks almost exactly like the animation for like the Ready Player One movie when they had all the avatars or whatever. Hers looks exactly the same. Yeah, so they brought back Cortana's voice, Jen Taylor, the original chick that does Cortana's voice. She's in this one doing the voice. That's pretty cool. There's the part where Cortana's discussing picking John or some shit like that, and it does kind of mirror what happens in the book. The only difference is so Cortana's talking about why she would pick John, and one of the things that she mentions is that he's above the rest in terms of strength, stamina, etc., etc., etc. But as we all know, John is probably one of the most unexceptional Spartans there are. He's not the fastest, he's not the strongest, he's not the smartest, he's literally just the luckiest. That's kind of his character, that's the whole deal about him. The only reason he ever succeeded was because he used teamwork and whatever. He was a good leader, but again, he was never considered the strongest Spartan or the greatest Spartan. He was just a very, very lucky Spartan. But in the books, when he first is picked by Cortana, one of the things that she notes is that she thinks he's attractive, right? So there's a very obvious buffer implied that the base of Dr. Halsey finds John attractive and all this stuff. Whatever. The whole point is that the main reason that Cortana picks John is because she likes him. And that's because Halsey likes him. And the only reason that Halsey allows Cortana to pick John is because she creates this custom buffer that allows her and John to synchronize to like a 0.0 percentage or some shit like that, whereas the others wouldn't have that. So it was kind of the main driving factor that Cortana picks John. Again, is just a luck factor. It's luck. But again, this new Cortana is different, and one of the very first things that she says is that she wants to take over John. She wants to interface with him completely so that she can be in control. And Halsey, Dr. Halsey, is preventing Cortana from achieving her objective because, for some reason, I honestly don't know. I think it's just because she wanted John to interface with the artifact more or something like that. But the whole point is that Halsey is preventing Cortana from fully realizing her objective, and her objective being taking complete control of John. This does kind of make a little bit of sense because the interactions with Cortana kind of imply that she's naive, and Cortana in the beginning was a bit naive, and that's kind of the whole deal, is that she's a smart AI and she learns as she goes. Comparably, she's a lot more like Weapon from Halo Infinite, basically. Kind of naive and always getting insulted or something like that, and just like not really understanding how humans work. So I get, like I said, the Cortana, at least the model, the voice acting, it's nostalgic and it's cool, but I still understand that the baseline of the character is wrong because she wants to take over John's brain. Anyway, we go back to Quan. Quan is at a club. She sees more of this dictator and she's really concerned. Chickens get delivered to Soren. People aren't happy with Soren's leadership because he's not letting them take all the shit that he wants. Quan demands Soren let her go back to the Resistance, despite the fact that in the beginning she specifically said she wanted to leave the planet for good. She wants to go back now to help them because her father was the leader and she can help her people or some stupid shit, right? It's like a real it's like a Disney princess thing almost, you know what I mean? Quan calls Soren an asshole for not helping her go back, which is totally like the best way that you can get someone's help is just to be a fucking dick to him. It works every time, right? Then we cut to Halsey explaining Cortana to John, and John is confused, but he's also kind of being a dick about it, like in a weird way. They also say that John is the best they have, which again is just a little weird. We cut into the middle of space. A Covenant ship appears, and it's completely dead. The shields are down. Everything's down. So that's great. And then the humans on the human ship near the Covenant ship get a hailing frequency, and it's a woman, and she's begging for help because her family was taken and everyone was killed, and all the aliens left the ship as soon as the engines died or some shit like that. Obviously, you and me know that this is actually the Blessed One. It's the chick, right? They decide to send an escape pod to her in order to bring her to them. And something that I don't understand about this point is you have a Covenant ship dead in the water, hypothetically. Why wouldn't you fucking board it and take it? It's like one of the main things that the humans have been trying to do is take Covenant vessels. But they don't. They just send an escape pod or whatever. Right at this moment, you see like an armored leg of a hunter, which sounds awesome, right? Like, hunters are pretty fucking cool, especially in, I think it was Forward Unto Dawn. They had a pretty cool hunter clash in there. That movie's actually probably one of the best adaptations of Halo of all time. But don't get too excited about the hunter, right? John touches the thing again. He has more visions of this previous life with a dog, and there's an excavation site, blah, blah, blah. Cortana tries to take over John's brain while he's touching the thing so that she can examine what it is. And when she takes over his brain, the artifact stops reacting to John. And then once she stops taking control of his brain, it starts reacting to him again. Once again, Cortana is very adamant that she needs to take over John in order for this all to work. They mention that John's vital systems are always spiking whenever he touches this thing, even though, like, just to be kind of a dick about it, right? In the books, it always mentions that Spartan 2s, no matter what situation they're in, even when they're literally about to die, their heartbeat doesn't flutter even slightly. They're always just totally calm. Back to the Blessed One on the ship. The captain or the admiral of the ship goes down there to meet her personally, along with like 10 or 12 armed ODSTs that are all pointing guns at her, right? Just keep that in mind. They're pointing guns at her. He welcomes her, asks if she's unhurt, and she looks completely unhurt. Like, she looks freshly showered. She doesn't look like she's been in any sort of trouble at all whatsoever. And then just boom, all these worms come through like the vents and shit and like drop down and scuttle around on the ground. And these are the hunter worms, by the way. That's what they are. Instead of using the armored form where they're giant hulking beasts with literal walking tanks, right? They're broken down into individual worms that are slithering everywhere, and all these Marines just open fire, and not a single one of them hit the Blessed One, who is literally standing like 5 feet away from them, not moving, not blinking, not doing anything. It's just one of those shots where they wanted to have her like walking slow motion while people are dying around her, like in that show Peacemaker, yeah. And that that show Peacemaker, where they have that badass scene where the chick is walking through the police station and everybody's dying and shit. That's badass. This was an attempt at that, and it just is stupid. That's not how the hunters work. That's not how any of this shit works. It's just fucking weird. But anyway, yeah, nobody shoots her. She basically kills the whole ship with worms that are being wormy and shit. And then she like, the worms grab the admiral or something, and she's like interrogating him, and she's asking where the demon is. Very specific, right? Where's the demon? And he's just like, I don't know. So she has like an energy blade on her fucking fingernail. Like, literally this part is an energy blade, and she stabs him through the eye. And then, you know, the ship is offline and she can't access any of the files, so she's like, drat, my plan failed. And it's like, holy shit, this is just so fucking weird. Like, you try to access the ship after you've killed everyone that could access the ship. It's just weird, right? You know what I mean? We cut back again to the base on Reach. Marines are just being Marines, you know, doing Marine things, throwing Marine balls and all this shit. Everybody recognizes John without his armor, which is super fucking weird because it was kind of a point made that the Spartans seem alien even to the humans because nobody ever sees them. And another thing I liked about Forward Unto Dawn is when they actually show the Spartans taking off their helmets, they look completely fucking weird, right? I'll fucking try to show it, but they look weird. They look fucking, their eyes look different. Their fucking faces are just pale and shit. They just look fucking weird, like not human. You know what I mean? John's walking around. He goes to meet his other Spartans, and one Spartan is doing like this intense memory test, and the other two are playing like 7D chess. In case you were wondering how fucking smart they are, they're gonna show you how fucking smart they are. It's funny how this show just makes a point to always try and show you how smart characters are in like weird roundabout ways, right? It's always better than, you know, show instead of do or whatever, or show instead of tell, right? But the problem is that they're showing me by like showing me their IQ, right? They're just like, hey, look how fucking smart these guys are. I don't know. I think it's excessive. It's gratuitous. Like in every other instance of Spartans doing nothing, they're just like taking weapons apart or preparing for a mission or training. They wouldn't be doing a memory exam and playing 7D chess. I don't know. Whatever. Everybody has their hobbies. I'm not going to shit on it too much. It's just fucking annoying. One of the Spartans, one of the giant chicks, makes a note of saying that we've been fighting together since we were kids, and I just hate when they always include those lines that are like, you and me have been friends for almost 7 years. It's like, who starts a conversation like that? It's just fucking weird to me. God, dude, I say the word weird a lot. But the best part about this whole thing, right, is when John's talking to all his other Spartans, Cortana just appears and tries to introduce herself, and John's just being a dick and telling her to go away and like AI off, and he's just totally dismissive of everything that she says, and it's just hilarious. I fucking love it. And then we go to Quan and Soren's kid, and I guess they're trying to be cute or something, where he's pointing to Madrigal and saying it's there, and she's like, it's not there, and he's saying, oh, just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. Then her and Soren's wife have a conversation about how Quan can't stay and she needs to go, and how the universe will miss her if she dies or some shit. One thing to point out, in aside from the fact that I legitimately don't care about this interaction at all, obviously at some point it's going to lead to Soren's death. I'm pretty sure. Her shirt is still bloodied. Her shirt is still bloodied even though the scar on her forehead has already healed. And it's like, fuck, dude, they can't wash their clothes because everybody else's clothes seem totally flawless and fine, except for hers, covered in blood. Just saying. You know, we go back to John. John is searching for something. He's continually being dismissive of Cortana, and it's great. It's like having a nagging person, and you're just like, shut up, shut up, shut up. Cortana eventually helps John search through his memories because that's what she is. She's a search engine. She's a glorified search engine. John asks for her help. He says, please, it's really nice. John mentions how Nora 098 was lost on Memora, and I did a little bit of digging, okay? The first thing that's implied is that there's 35 Spartans alive, right? There's 35 Spartan 2s alive, I should say. There's a bunch of the other ones. 35 of them, right? And if you go anywhere on the Halopedia or whatever the fuck and check how many Spartans are alive and how many have been killed or whatever, there's about 42 of them that are alive, which basically means people are just making shit up at this point, and it's totally fine. But my point is that Nora 098 doesn't exist. At least, she doesn't exist in a sense that I can find. She might have been one of those Halo shorts from, like, one of those, when they had all the different animators come together. She might be in one of those, but I don't know. John just recalls that he's sad that he can't feel bad for her death because she's dead, and he just doesn't care. So John comes to the conclusion that in order to fix this, he needs to remove the hormonal imbalance chip or something at the base of his spine, right, so that he can feel again. And Cortana just immediately snitches on John and tells Dr. Halsey what he's doing. Halsey wants Cortana to help John cut out the thing so that she can see him as an ally, which will help them with the inevitable betrayal of John, right? So she guides him to cutting out his thing, and it's literally just this tiny little tack circle thing that blinks. And it just doesn't seem right that that would be a hormonal inhibitor, but fuck it, whatever. I mean, you know, he just popped it right out like that. That was very easy. The other Spartan chick was watching him do it, so I'm sure maybe they'll fucking pop theirs out too, or some other shit. John, currently experiencing emotions for the first time, is walking around like he's currently experiencing emotions for the first time. I just don't get this because John always felt like he didn't belong with humanity anyway, so he would always feel alienated from these people, and this is just weird. And then Cortana offers to like be his functioning GPS, right? She's like, "Oh, let me help you figure out where you need to go." And it's like, holy shit, Siri, relax. The planet looks way too futuristic, is all that I can say. Is everybody's wearing some weird shit. Like, it just looks like the Hunger Games, right? It just looks way too futuristic. John hears music and gets emotionally moved. It sounds kind of like the Halo soundtrack. I might be wrong on that. I might be right on that. I don't fucking know. John sees a dog and then just driven with purpose, right? And he needs to go see the artifact again. Cortana is like, "Hey, Dr. Halsey, John's trying to do this." And Dr. Halsey, again, is just like, "Yeah, just help him do whatever he wants. Just go ahead." So John opens the artifact or whatever, grabs it again. Turns out John was having visions of artifacts even when he was like 5 years old. He was drawing two artifacts together. And that's basically what's revealed, is the fact that John has been drawing the artifact since he was 2, and quite possibly his father buried one that he found in their backyard or some shit. This part's actually canonically correct. They say that John was born on Eridanus 2, which is true. He was born on Eridanus 2, Elysium City, or whatever the fuck it's called. So that is true. The problem becomes when John asks kind of like what happened to his parents, and Cortana explains that there was a virus. There was a virus that came on a ship, and the plague spread across the whole population to the point where the planet was completely sealed off. Now, obviously, it's the flood, right? Obviously, it's the flood. It's definitely the flood. Maybe it was secretly sealed off by the UNSC to prevent the flood from getting off world or some shit. But the whole point is, I'm pretty sure the flood completely took over the planet, and that's what they're saying. And John is going to go to the planet, obviously, in order to find the fucking artifact. But my point is, so already the people were telling me that because the flood are in this, it's gonna be good. No, I fucking, you can't tell me that just the flood infected this one fucking planet and that's it, and the humans were just like, oh, let's just leave it the fuck alone, right? That's just what they did. They just left it alone. This ancient fucking alien thing that consumes galaxies has been confided to one planet. Whatever, dude. John confides in Dr. Halsey, telling her that he's experiencing all of these memories or whatever. John's saying, "I'm gonna go." Halsey's like, "I'm coming with you," and I'm just like, wasn't John like literally the enemy of the state in the last episode? Like, how the fuck is he already allowed to leave and go wherever he wants just because they put Cortana in him? That's really it? They just put Cortana in him. They're like, okay, he can do whatever he wants again. It's like, fuck, dude. Why even have the meeting about him? We cut to Quan, and she's trying to hotwire a spaceship. She then bribes Soren with money that it's pretty obvious I don't think she has, in order to take her to the planet. And Soren's like, fuck you, that's fine, because if you don't give me the money, then I'll just turn in your bounty or something. Then we cut to the Blessed One hotwiring a UNSC ship, because hotwiring ships is just like the fucking wave these days. She's hotwiring it so she can talk to her other ship. She communicates with them. One thing I have to say about this language is it sounds almost exactly like Dothraki, right? If you've seen Game of Thrones, like, am I fucking tripping? Does it not sound exactly like Dothraki? It does, right? While she's broadcasting and talking to her other ship, telling them that they're gonna go on this valiant conquest and fuck up shit, Miranda identifies this. They intercept it somehow, and identifies that this communication is Sangeli, and she explains why it's Sangeli, because the grunts don't really talk, and it's all Sangeli. But this is the same language that she's been using this entire time, which means that the prophets are also speaking Sangeli, and pretty much everybody in the Covenant only speaks one language, which is weird, but fuck it, whatever. Keyes gives Miranda advice on how to undermine Halsey and like eventually take over, and it's like this evil little plotting thing between dad and daughter, and it's fucking weird. Halsey and her weird fucking Igor helper are like drooling over the idea that the artifact could be a weapon or some shit. And then he mentions how the truth could bring everything down, and Cortana's purpose is to suppress the truth, which is confusing because the whole idea of the Spartan program was that it was unethical from the fucking get-go, right? It's not okay. The whole point of that is basically broke the law in like a fuck ton of ways in order to make it happen, and the UNSC signed off on it. And basically that was like a point, is that they can't let the outside world know that the UNSC basically was kidnapping children and turning them into soldiers, right? That pretty much concludes the third episode, and I don't know who I listened to, but whoever it was, whoever told me that the third episode was gonna be better because it might have the flood, I hate, and I just don't think any amount of pandering to me is going to work on this, because I don't care if you show me the Master Chief on a planet and he's just fighting legions of flood and it looks really fucking cool, right? It could be one of the most badass like horror fucking evil things going on. I'd be like, wow, this is awesome. But the show still fucking sucks, and that does not change it for me.